Welcome to the FEI Icons podcast. Nobody becomes an icon by staying comfortable. These are the moments that stretch them and shape them. Real stories, real strategies, real leadership. The titles are public. The turning points were private. Until now.
I'm Heather Cole, finance leader, executive coach, and proud member of FEI. My goal is simple. Take the stories behind the titles and turn them into lessons you can use. If you've ever looked successful on paper but felt the weight of, am I doing this right? You're in the right place. Stories, strategy, leadership. Let's get into it. If you don't ask, the answer will always be no. Today's guest is Patti Humble. Most people think careers are like ladders. Patti calls them jungle gyms. And that mindset helped take her all the way to become the Chief Accounting Officer at UPS. In this episode, she shares the moment that rewired her trajectory. She walked into her leader's office, closed the door, and asked for the promotion, only to learn she wasn't even being considered. No drama, just clarity and choice. You'll hear why "don't ask, don't get" isn't a slogan, it's a strategy. You'll learn how finance earns a real influence by shifting from black and white answers to business-shaping questions, and what transformation leadership actually requires: hearts, minds, and momentum, not just a project plan. How to build an external network that accelerates your decisions and reduces friction, and why Patti says she isn't retired, she's rewired as she steps into board work and invests in women-led startups through Golden Seeds. If you've ever worked hard and assumed someone would notice, this conversation offers you a better playbook. Because excellence is impressive, but advocacy is what changes your zip code. Let's jump in with Patti Humble. Welcome to the FEI Podcast. I'm Heather Cole, and here today with me is Patti Humble. I'm so excited to introduce you to her experience running a very large company, and then sharing with you her future and where she's going. So Patti, welcome to our show. I'd love for you to give us a little bio on yourself.
Thank you, Heather. I really appreciate spending some time with you here today. So I have a really interesting journey. I wound up as and was able to be the Chief Accounting Officer for United Parcel Service. And that's not where I started my journey. And I think most people that are listening to this podcast will understand that their careers aren't ladders, they're jungle gyms. And I really took a very interesting path to be where I am. I mean, I started out in public accounting with Deloitte, and I actually did it a little backwards. I started in the tax department, and then I went to consulting, and then I went into audit. But what I really found in that journey was that I really loved doing lots of different things, and I liked being a strategist, more of a generalist. That was where I wanted to spend my time. I spent 33 years with UPS, and it was a wonderful career. I had 10 different assignments over those 33 years, so I was always moving, I was always learning, it was always fun, and UPS is a great company to work for. And now I'm not retired, I'm just doing something else. I call it rewired, and I'm on to the next chapter of my professional journey.
Well, excellent. Before we go into the next chapter, I'd love to kind of get some of your nuggets of wisdom in this 33-year experience you had. It sounds like you had a lot of different hats. Was there one moment, maybe one crossroads, where you were starting to go one direction and you said, wait, it's time for me to shift? Or was there something that really left a different path within that career?
I think there is two pivotal moments, and it's just a little piece of advice that I give people. I've mentored a number of female leaders in UPS, and it's something I really, really enjoy doing. I love pouring myself into, mid-career female executives. But one thing that was really a pivotal moment for me was probably about 10 years or so into my career. I went in and I asked for the promotion. And it really went against my instincts. I really had to swallow hard to do it. And I really had some friends and mentors that were telling me, it's like, look, Patty, you have to make your intentions known. They're not going to read your mind. And I walked in, I closed the door and said, I want the promotion, and here's why. And thank goodness I did, because at that point, the general manager was saying, wow, Patty, I wasn't even considering it. And aren't I glad that I walked in, because I got the job and the position, and that's what set in motion a different chain of events. And I think the other one, and you hear that a lot from, I think, women executives, is go do something really outside your comfort zone. So I did have an assignment where it was a brand new position. I had to make it from scratch. I was actually starting shared service centers globally. So I was traveling the world. We were setting up a shared service center in Dublin and in Singapore, and it was completely uncharted territory. But I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot. And I think that was also very pivotal.
I absolutely love, I'm going to back up a little bit to what you said about asking, because I think this is any young future leader, and I'm going to say, especially women, we're not good at asking. I know early in my career, I thought I'd work really hard, I'd do the long hours, I'd be the best at it, and the promotions and raises would naturally come. And then I remember one time my boss patting me on the back and he's like, good job. And I'm like, wait, what just happened? Like nothing happened until, like you, I had to go back, kind of lick my wounds a little and go, you know what? I'm just going to tell him what I want.
That's right.
But you had so much courage. Like, maybe you can help me with a little mental prep that you did before you went in and said, I want this job.
Yeah. Well, I actually put it on a Post-it note on my monitor, later in my career. It says, don't ask, don't get. And I know someone who will ask for the craziest things. And you know what? Half the time he gets it. And it's just, I can't believe you did that. I mean, whether it's just out and about or, so what I've learned from observing others is it's really not a high risk game. What's the worst thing that could happen? You get told no? Okay. Well, if you go in knowing that that's the worst thing that's going to happen is you might get shot down. I mean, that's not a bad outcome. And when you consider your stakes at maybe getting even part of what you think you might want, the other thing it does is it really makes you coalesce around what you do want. And, there were a number of people that I mentored. It's like, well, I want to get promoted. Well, okay, that's great. It's a little vague. And just doing the work and doing the introspection that gets you to a point of asking, it's sometimes I tell people, it's like, well, what position, if you could make a job for yourself from scratch and the company would make it for you, what position would you ask for? And that was also very thought-provoking. So I think the don't ask, don't get, it is a courage, but I think keeping in mind what's the worst thing that could happen is good. And also you gain a lot of respect by asking. And you wouldn't think so. You think you're going to come off as being offensive, but I think people really respect the fact that you advocate for yourself.
I love that, because you're really living life intentionally.
That's
Not
right.
just, I hope this happens to me, but what I'm hearing you say is define your course and then go ask for it and make it happen.
Yes, and if it doesn't, fine, then that's good. We adjust. And especially earlier in our careers, I think there might be a misperception that things are linear. And we all know, if you look at really successful people in the C-suites, it was never linear. So that's a nice thing about asking too, is somebody say, hey, we don't have a position for you over here, but have you ever considered taking on this assignment? And they'll think of something that you've never thought of. And that turns out to be something wonderful.
So you're known as being a real strategic thinker, especially for a chief accounting officer, right? Do you think this living non-linearly is kind of a superpower to be able to be a more strategic thinker? And maybe how does that apply? The world of accounting isn't known. People stereotype it as rules, like there's no strategic thinking, right? So maybe you can share your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, well, I think your audience, if they work in the world of finance and accounting, know that it is a lot of art and not a lot of science. So I think one of the things that being a collaborator at the table with other executives, if you take off your black and white hat and show that type of flexibility, it really does earn you a place at that strategy session. And it's a lot of fun. It's really where the creative side of corporate life lives, is on the strategy side. And the earlier you get into something, the better off your functional outcome will be. I would tell our CFO on a regular basis, like, look, if you're setting a corporate strategy, let me in, because there are probably accounting choices that can be made. And if we make them early, then you can talk about this business the way you want to, not the way you have to. I think that really resonated. And when you show that you're that type of a collaborative partner, it really pays off. But coming with that, I think going back to our earlier comment, is where you have the credibility from taking some of those assignments that might not necessarily be in your sweet spot.
Yeah, you're like knowledge collecting along the way, right?
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned that you opened up shared services, and we're talking globally, and leading that transformation efforts. I work with a lot of tech and finance people, and what I'm constantly hearing from them is, we put these things in place, but getting people to actually start working within the new frameworks, to that change management side of it, is really a challenge. Maybe you have some nuggets of gold that you can share with us on leading those massive transformation projects.
You said it well, Heather. Change management can sink a strategy, like they say, culture eats strategy all day long. Leaders, and I think this plays into a little bit of what we're seeing with what's happening with artificial intelligence and Gen AI, is we're all kind of, in our finance and accounting roles, maybe a little apprehensive about how our lives are going to change. But also on the upside, it's going to be our unique human traits that are really going to be differentiators for us and how we use those tools. But that goes back to what makes us uniquely human, is change management is about winning the hearts, minds, and souls of human beings. And people have to know why. And I'm not sure, especially with corporate edicts or big projects like that, most people feel a little threatened, or they feel like they might be replaced, or they just don't like change. I don't want to use the new tool. I like the old tool, right? Don't tell me to change my job. Don't ask me to, I'm fine where I'm at. And it depends on the person. But part of that change management is really explaining why and what's good about it, what's good for them. And I found when we were starting the shared service environments, I spent probably 80% of my time being cheerleader and champion on it. The basic blocking and tackling was getting done, but it was really bringing people along and showing them the vision of what it was going to look like and what was in it for them. And I think that's more important than ever as we start to use some of the tools that are really liberating us from some of the more mundane things that we do in finance and accounting. Thank goodness, because there were a lot of things, I'm sure, that mind-numbing tasks that people are going to be grateful to be rid of. But then we really have to index into that unique human quality, which, in my opinion, I think that's one of the things we all need to be leaning really hard into, is upskilling talent and really emphasizing a lot of those soft skills that are going to be more important than ever.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of the clients that I coach, they're like, oh, what jobs is AI going to take and what's going to happen? And I said, AI is not going to replace your job. AI, it's going to enhance your job. If you don't learn and be open to AI, however, someone that does understand it will replace your job, right?
Right. Leaders are going to need a different skill set, but I don't think that the soft skills that we've all practiced for, our careers before AI is going to change much. It'll be even more important.
I absolutely agree. The leaders and their communication, as you said, you got to tell the why. The why, and communicating that why is, I think it's more important than ever, because I like to think that AI amplifies the direction you're going. And if people don't know the direction and why you're going there, and you're going in 20 different directions, it's going to amplify that chaos faster as well, right?
Yeah. And culture.
A- And culture, exactly. Now, you've learned a lot over the years. Wondering if you had to say like something that you know right now that you didn't know 10 years ago, that if you could go back in time and would have told yourself maybe 10 or 15 years ago, what is that nugget that you wish you would have known when you were younger?
Well, it goes back, Heather, a little bit to what you were talking about. Is like, you keep your head down, you do really excellent work, and you kind of hope to get noticed. So there's certainly the idea that you're constantly kind of marketing yourself. And you need to take a resume view of your accomplishments and kind of always have your resume ready because you never know what that's going to be. But it also forces you to think about what skills you have and what value you bring to the company you're with, or a value you may be able to add in the future to a different company. And the other thing that goes with that I don't think I really appreciated adequately 10 years ago was curating and nurturing my external network. So other controllers, other chief accounting officers, really having that buddy system with people. If you're implementing a new accounting policy and you know somebody in a software company and you're really struggling, you can phone a friend. What are you doing with this SaaS contract? And it's really so very valuable, and it takes time and effort. And I think I would have started that earlier in my career. And that's the advice I would give someone.
That's interesting because that's a constant theme that I see as I have been interviewing financial executive international icon award winners, is that they all say that curating that network and using it so that you don't have to work as hard, but you're working smarter. Because if you're implementing Oracle or some other technology, someone else has already done it.
That's right.
And you could get there so much faster. When I was younger, I don't know about you, when I was younger, I thought I had to learn it all myself, and asking would be a sign of weakness.
Don't ask, don't get.
Don't ask, don't get. I love that.
And people really do want to help. I firmly believe that. I mean, and my moniker now is give, get. Make sure you're giving in those relationships, that you're not always a taker. In your network, keep in your mind, who can I help today? It really feels good to help others. And like, hey, I just ran across this problem. You might impact that too. Let me know if I can help you.
I love that. You're not waiting for someone to ask you, but you're reaching out saying, I ran into this problem. I think you might too. Does this help? Like, that's a whole different step
Yeah.
than just being ready with an answer for someone, right? You're
Yes.
putting it out there. Now, you've said you've started this new chapter, which we will talk about here as well. And what I'd love to do is first hear about that new chapter, what you're doing with it, and then what is one big ask that you have that you could ask anything? What would you be asking for?
That is a great question, Heather. So I had a fabulous career at UPS, and I'm very grateful for that. But I am not done. I'm not done. I am not ready to ride off into the sunset. So I tell people that I'm not retired. I'm just doing something different. So I am in the process of transitioning, hopefully, to a board portfolio lifestyle. I would love to serve on a for-profit board of directors. I'm currently on nonprofit boards, and I'm looking at board positions, and hopefully I'll be able to add value to a company board in my near future. But I think the ask there is really, and again, it goes back to that external networking, is I'm asking a lot of people that I know, and second and third and fourth degree people that I know, to keep me in mind. In the meantime, I love learning, and I'm really quite intentional about all the things that I need to learn to be an effective board member. I went and did the certification for the NAC, which is the National Association of Corporate Directors. Did that, and I just wanted to make a statement that I'm in this and I'm committed to it. And so every morning I wake up, well, what can I learn today? Which is great.
Are you familiar with the organization that came out of California that's whole focus is on getting women on boards?
There are a number of them.
Yeah, so they've started different chapters. In fact, I was just at one of their local events here in Tampa. but they're starting to really get active because I don't know about you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the demographics of, public boards today and the benefits of maybe changing that a little bit.
Well, there've been a lot of empirical studies, and I'll let you ask ChatGPT about them. There's a lot of studies that show diversity of thought. And I mean, from all types of demographics and backgrounds make for a better board. And I think that has been embraced by boards wholeheartedly. And we've seen a seismic shift in the last decade or more around board composition. I think maybe the last thing might be, and this is, I go to the NACB conferences, it's just around board refreshment. I think boards really understand that the challenges are only compounding and boards are being asked to do more and more and more all the time. And so are we really taking a look at the board skill matrix and ensuring that we've got succession plans and refreshment plans that are going to keep that board at the very top of its game?
Yeah, and I think right now we're also seeing more and more boards, at least in mid-market companies, mandating they have an AI strategy plan, a transformation plan. And I think that as we look at those board members and the diversity of them, I think that actually has a whole nother level. Would you agree?
That's right. Very complementary, right? When you think about the challenges that are facing management and then the board on top of that, those skill sets are becoming more and more robust.
Yeah, excellent. I noticed on your profile you had this golden seeds. Maybe you could share a little bit about what golden seeds is because it sounds extremely interesting.
It is very interesting. So in my next chapter, in my next piece, I became an angel investor. And so what this group does is that it is a consortium of about 200 women, and we pool our funds to invest in female-led businesses because female-led businesses really don't get venture capital. I mean, the statistics are abysmal about what type of seed capital that women startups and women-led businesses can get. So Golden Seeds is about 20 years old. They set out to remedy this disparate availability to funding. And what's really, really fun about this is we've got women from all walks of life, from all industries and all backgrounds, and we do our own work. We do our own diligence. And so I'm doing financial diligence right now and working with female entrepreneurs, startups. It's so rewarding just to see their passion and their energy around their idea. And there's so many things they don't know, right? And that's where we come in, right? I mean, working at UPS, I know what good looks like. And you have to just scale that and to fit for purpose. But there's a lot of wisdom in this group that we apply to some of these women-led businesses. And I'm having a ton of fun. It's great.
I think it's amazing because going back to the asking, right? Getting the power, getting the courage, whatever you want to call it, to ask. I think that a lot of, as an entrepreneur myself, we're not taught how to get that funding, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole different game.
It is not easy. Entrepreneurs have to spend a lot of their time fundraising.
So if somebody was trying to get funding, what's the number one thing that you're like, hey, this is what you got to do first? This is the first part of that journey.
Well, most entrepreneurs do in their first stage what we call friends and family, right? They max out their credit cards, they call up their rich uncle, and they get some money to start their business, right? And after that, I think it's just tapping into, there's so many incubators. Get yourself an advisory board, people that have expertise in whatever it is you're doing, retail or franchising, and just, again, tap into experts. There's a lot of places to get help and to get your idea off the ground. Then after that, I think a lot of people will tell you what you need to have for a data room to get through due diligence. All this is uncharted territory for so many entrepreneurs. But I think, having a lot of advisors early is probably the advice I would give a brand new entrepreneur. Don't think you can just make it on your own.
Speaking of advisors, if you look back on your career, was there one person or maybe a couple people that really stand out as kind of your guide or your advisor that gave you the most important information?
The beautiful thing about my career with UPS was I had a new assignment every 3 years. So I never had to leave UPS. I was doing something new all the time and learning all the time. And the other thing that was great about that culture is it was a very close-knit, almost like a familial feel about it. So I actually had a mentor slash coach slash champion in a lady who was 1 or 2 positions ahead of me all the time. And she was so gracious with her time to give me advice about these are the people you should know, or you should ask for this job, or have you thought about this? And I was very intentional when we weren't working directly with each other to make sure that I was always in communication with her, to make sure that I was always in the front of her mind as some of these championing type decisions, because she was in those rooms, right? She was in the rooms where decisions got made. She was pivotal. She gave me a lot of tough love along the way as well. I can still wince about sometimes, but that's what you really need in that type of a confidant and mentor.
Yeah. Well, Patti, I've loved chatting with you today. I think that I could sit and chat with you for hours because I think you have some just amazing nuggets. And what I'm hearing from you is live intentionally. Know what you want, map out your course there, and go do what it takes to
That's
get
right.
there. I love your comment about don't ask, don't get. I think I'm going to make a little sign and put it on my monitor here because I think we all can use that reminder, even those of us that do ask. It's like, wait, what if I were a little bit bolder? What if I was a little bit stronger?
That's the short version. Let me read for you what the long version is. If you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. If you don't ask, the answer will always be no. And if you don't step forward, you will always be in the same place.
I love that. I think on that note, I think that is an amazing place to leave it for everyone. I look forward to seeing you at some FEI events in the future. I think you are on the path to some amazing things with your golden seeds.
Oh, thanks.
I'm a big champion of women. So thank you for joining us today, Patti. And I wish you the best of luck in your journey.
Thanks, Heather. Have a great day.
Thanks. Patti, thank you. This was so powerful. Listeners, here's the key takeaways. If you want to move from being valued to being chosen, stop waiting to be noticed. Get clear on what you want, ask for it with courage, and lead the change by winning hearts, not just executing plans. Now, take something you learned today. I challenge you and implement it, work on it, lead with it, do it this week. I'm Heather Cole. Thanks for listening to the FEI Icons podcast. Until next time.
Your career doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in rooms, relationships, and real conversations. So here's your next move. Expand your network through the FEI network because the right connections increase your net worth and your impact. Plug into the programs, the people, and the community, and keep showing up until opportunity recognizes your name.